I'm starting to feel like Mr. Ball in a little bit.
Scary Story Sundays.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Fright Delight. Welcome back to another Scary Story Sunday. And let me ask you just one question. Have you ever read something so disturbing that it made you physically uncomfortable for a few hours? That's exactly how I felt after reading this shit. So, without further ado, put your AC down to a smooth 32 and let's get to it. Grace Budd was a vibrant and innocent 10-year-old girl whose tragic fate would become a haunting chapter in American history. Born in 1918, she lived with her family in the bustling neighborhood of Manhattan, New York City. Grace was known for her cheerful disposition and a spirit filled with curiosity and imagination like many children her age. Her days were filled with the innocent joys of childhood, such as attending school, playing games, and participating in family gatherings. Tragically, her life was cut short before she could fully experience the adventures and opportunities that awaited her. Years later, the family received a graphic letter with a description of the murder of little Grace. On May 28, 1928, 6 years before the letter was written, Albert Fish would arrive at 406 West 15th Street in Manhattan, responding to a classified ad placed by an 18-year-old Edward Budd, Grace's older brother, who was looking for work. Albert Fish was a tall and gaunt man, standing around 6 feet tall. He had a frail appearance with thin limbs and a deeply lined face that conveyed a sense of age and weariness. His hair was gray and unkempt, often described as wild or matted, adding to his unsettling demeanor. He posed as a Long Island landowner in need of a helping farmhand and arrived at the Budd family residence and introduced himself as Frank Howard. Budd's classified ad had mentioned farm experience, and Fish promised him impending work, saying that he would return, and left with visions of killing Edward. Edward was looking forward to having a job and providing for his family, and Albert even offered a job to Edward's friend, Willie. Albert planned to come pick them up a few days later to take them back to his farm to begin work. When Albert didn't show, he provided a handwritten note explaining that he would be in touch in a few days. He came for a visit the following morning, and the family invited him to stay for lunch. During his visit, Albert spotted Edward's younger sister, Grace. He started telling the story of his 6 children and how his wife had left them, explaining that he had to attend a birthday party before he could take the boys to the farm. He asked if Grace would like to join him. With his gracious attitude and friendly nature, the Budd family gave Grace permission to attend the party. That evening, Grace was dressed in her finest clothes when she left with Albert. The seemingly friendly old man agreed to bring her back promptly. Albert did not return and Grace vanished. The family reported her disappearance to the local police and an investigation began. Even after a string of murders following Grace, the police weren't able to catch him until 6 years later on November 11, 1934, when a disturbing unsigned letter arrived for Grace's mother. She was illiterate and needed her son to read the letter out loud to her. And before I read this letter out loud, I want to let you all know that this is some sick shit. So if you can't stomach some sick, depraved things being said, please click off this video now. But if you have morbid curiosity like me and want to see what this, or want to hear what this man said, you sick bastard. Let's get to it. My dear Miss Budd, in 1894, a friend of mine shipped as a deckhand on a steamer Tacoma, Captain John Davis. They sailed from San Francisco to Hong Kong, China. On arriving there, he and 2 others went ashore and got drunk. When they returned, the boat was gone. At the time, there was famine in China. Meat of any kind was from $1 to $3 a pound. So great was the suffering among the very poor that all the children under 12 were sold to the butchers to be cut up and sold for food in order to keep the others from starving. A boy or girl under 14 was not safe in the street. You could not go in any shop and ask for steak, chops, or stew meat. A boy or girl's behind, which is the sweetest part of the body and sold as veal cutlet, brought the highest price. On his return to New York, he stole 2 boys, one 7 and one 11, took them to his home, stripped them naked, tied them in a closet, burned everything they had on. First, he killed the 11-year-old boy because he had the fattest ass, and of course the most meat on it. Part of his body was cooked and eaten except the head, bones, and guts. He was roasted in the oven, all of his ass, boiled, broiled, fried, and stewed. The little boy was next. Went the same way. At the time, I was living at 409 East 100th Street, rear, right side. He told me so often how good human flesh was that I made up my mind to taste it. On Sunday, June the 3rd, 1928, I called you at 406 West 15th Street, brought you pot cheese, strawberries. We had lunch. Grace sat in my lap and kissed me. I made up my mind to eat her. On the pretense of taking her to a party, you said yes, she could go. I took her to an empty house in Westchester I had already picked out. When we got there, I told her to remain outside. I went upstairs and stripped all my clothes off. I know if I didn't, I would get her blood on. When all was ready, I went down to the window and called her. Then I hid in the closet until she was in the room. When she saw me all naked, she began to cry and run downstairs. I grabbed her and she said she would tell her mama. First, I stripped her naked. How did she kick, bite, and scratch? I choked her to death, then cut her into small pieces so I could take my meat to my rooms, cook, and eat it. How sweet and tender her little ass was, roasted in the oven. It took me 9 days to eat her entire body. I did not fuck her though. I could have as I wished. but she died a virgin. Almost immediately after receiving Albert Fish's letter, the Budds turned it over to the police. Investigators noted that the envelope was adorned with a small hexagonal emblem representing the local association for private chauffeurs. They found a janitor at the company's headquarters who admitted to taking some of the stationery home. When they investigated his former residence on 52nd Street, the landlady revealed that a man named Albert Fish had checked out of this now rooming house mere days prior. She agreed to contact him and claimed that a check was waiting for him, leading Fish to return and the authorities to arrest him on December 13, 1934. Many confessions and testimonies were heard by law enforcement and psychiatrists. He was calm and reserved, which was out of the ordinary. Albert described how he wanted to lure Ed, Bud, and his friend Willie to his farm and kill them. However, once he laid eyes on Gracie, he changed his mind and desperately wanted to kill her. He confessed that he wanted to inflict pain and have pain inflicted on him. He tortured and preyed on children, mostly boys though. He also had a compulsion to write and send obscene letters. An X-ray determined that he placed needles into the region between his anus and scrotum, and at least 29 needles were discovered. His trial began on March 11, 1935, and he was executed at the Sing Sing prison, January 16, 1936. And his bitch-ass last words was, "I don't even know why I'm here." Now, homies, this is a story that might sit with you a lot like it sat with me. Grace and all of the other victims never deserved what happened to them. And let's take a moment of silence for them. Jeffrey Dahmer has nothing on this guy. This man was out here eating ass cheeks from kids, sending letters to the families of what he did, and apparently his lawyer James Dempsey couldn't bear to read his final statement that you can't find anywhere online. And I tried. I will never show anyone. It was the most filthy string of obscenities that I've ever seen. Now, if your own lawyer is saying that and kept his word on not releasing it, then you know it had to be some of the most depraved shit beyond what he sent them on. Alright, homies. I'm gonna go take a shower or something because I feel dirty as hell. So until the next Scary Story Sunday, stay safe. Don't open the door for anybody but the like and subscribe button. And thank you for coming to a Fright Delight, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.